Hello and welcome to Erica Reacts. Today I will be reacting to a request that I got on Cash App. It was specifically for Grateful Dead reaction, October 8th, 1989, Help, Slip, Franklin. It's a live set, it's an 18-minute set. So here we go, since it's long.
the time, forgotten space. Your eyes looked from your mother's face. I thought I'd see you in the sand again. May the far winds roll you home again. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. January, the full moon's clear. Franklin's tower, their hands are clear. And it can rain, turn night to day. It'll ring like fire if you lose your way. Oh, roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. God save the child that rings that bell. Hammond would ring, baby, you can tell. One watch by night, one watch by day. You get confused, listen to the music play. Some come to live the past away. Some come to make it just one more day. Whichever way your pleasure sins, you plant ice, you're gonna harvest wind. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away get you out the folds, like falling down the lighthouse key. Wildflower seed in the sand and stone. May the four winds roll you safely home. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. You better roll away the dew. Roll away, you better roll away the dew. You better roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away,
Okay, reaction. All right, I took a lot of notes because it was long, so I wanted to just remember everything that I was thinking. I have really bad handwriting, by the way. And I also write on envelopes. Does anyone else do this? Where like you get like a junk mail or something and then you like use it as scratch paper. So this was like a DMV envelope that has now become my notes. I have really bad handwriting, by the way, so that's why I really like typing. Okay, so just high level overview. Had I not started listening to Fish a few months ago, and let's say this had just been the first jam band I ever listened to, I would have been like, what the F is going on? Like when it got to the jam section, I was like, what? But I'll tell you this, because I now have been schooled in Fish and my ear is attuned to it, I actually did not find the songs interesting until the jam started at exactly, I wrote it down, at 4:16 is when I marked that they started the jam. So I found that first song extremely unnotable, honestly. Like I was like, okay, he's a good guitar player. Like, okay, they're a band, it's live. But this whole first song, I was like, like there's nothing like remarkable about his singing or the melody. It's like, okay, it's okay. In some ways, I mean, yes, I'm just going to compare this to Fish. Like these are more, I'd say, kind of traditional rock ballads than you would get in Fish. So, but it doesn't sound anything like, oh my God, this is like the most amazing song I've ever heard in my life. Like it's not like a song where you're like, oh my God, like I have to hear that again. It was so profound. But what I liked about it was that they use the guitar and the piano throughout this whole thing to fill in little musical motifs and riffs whenever the voice is not singing. So that was happening a lot, and it would depend. Sometimes the guitar would be featured, sometimes the bass would be more featured, sometimes the keys/synthesizer would be more featured. So I said at 4:16 there was the jam. I heard this ascending, clashing piano thing, which, by the way, reminded me a lot of what I've heard in Fish at times. But on the other hand, this part, I wrote interesting guitar effect. So clearly he pressed a pedal or whatever to change his guitar effect. So I thought that was an interesting effect. Then I thought I wrote down yeah, this is the part of the jam that got a little bit crazy. But again, had I just come into this having never listened to any jams, I would have been like, wow, this is kind of wild. They're like clashing with each other. There's some little layer tonality going on. But because now I've heard a crazy, so many crazy wild fish jams that like, basically this is like the baby genesis of let's just like get a little bit off the book and let's just like clash a little bit and do a little bit of exploring. And then Fish just took that and went like times a million power. Like they were just like, let's just take this and like amplify it. That's what it seems to me, at least, because this is like mild, and I found this very accessible. And actually, because now I'm into the like, ooh, the jams are so interesting. What are they gonna do? How are they gonna clash? What are the differentials? What are the instruments gonna do? Now I'm like, oh, that first song was boring until they got to the jam, which just shows how my ear has changed so much. Because before I would have been like, what the F is going on, right? Okay. So then I noticed a big shift at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. I go, oh, change. I said, maybe this is another song. Oh, I like that. I like that was like very harmonized and they work together. Yeah. Prior to that, I wrote chord and transposition. Those chords are not in the same key. So it's, I think, transposing because they're going to another song that's in a different key. That's my thought of why they're doing it. I'm not going to sit out and figure it out right now, but that's definitely what's going on. Then we got at 9:13 I wrote down. Then now we have the beachy vibe. And then at 9:29 we got the new tempo. Yes, then we got the new tempo and a new sound. Like he changed his guitar back to like normal and a very like ding, you know, very... Piano riffs. Oh, then I wrote that the piano riffs were coming in pretty prominently between the vocals.
May the far wind roll you home again. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away. Franklin's tower, the hands. Ring like fire, if your way. Oh, roll away the dew.
Now, I personally have a strong aversion to songs that just keep repeating the same roll away the dew. I mean, there's like a lot of kind of rock songs, what I consider classic rock, boomer rock, and there's always sometimes this repeating refrain that goes on and on and on and on. And I think in the moment, I'm sure it was great, and everyone there was like in the mood. And sometimes when I'm just listening to songs, especially like, I didn't mind the rest of this, by the way. I liked the beginning, I liked all this. This part in the end where they had to go roll away the dew, and they just went on roll away the dew for like from 11 minutes to 17 minutes. I did get a little bored of that, but I did like that they sang harmony. When did I write that? 12:40, I wrote nice guitar solo. Let's hear it. Around here, I found that this was a very repetitive chord progression. Dun, 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 dun. How did I play the right note? That's weird. Octave. So it's A, Okay, 1440 keys featured.
Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew.
Whatever this. Something like that. Very high key.
Some come to left to cast away.
And then I wrote.
Seed in the sand and stone. May the four winds roll you safely home.
I like that they're doing the oohs behind him, the ooh, to harmonize his voice. I think that adds a lot. I like all the times they're singing in harmony in this the best. But I did get a little bored of Roll Away the Do because, I don't know. I thought the other songs were better. Like the first part of this was better. I liked the jam after the first song. I liked when it went into that like beachy vibe. And then when this third one started, I liked the transition into the fast. But then once it got to this one, I don't know why. I don't know if it's my attention span. I don't know if it's just this song, this third one out of the other first half of this just isn't my cup of tea. But I also just don't relate to Roll Away the Do. It just doesn't do anything for me. It's like, I don't know. I think these were like very different times. I'm surprised that Jerry Garcia was already so gray in 1989. How old was he? Because didn't he start the band in the 60s? So I assume he was in his 20s. So he was only in his early 40s. He went fully gray, like pretty young. Unless you guys can correct me and tell me he was 57 years old here. I don't know. In 1989, I was 4. Okay, so there's definitely no way I was going to be at a Dead concert. Right now, Erica, do you like it better than Fish? I'm going to say no. But that's because I think there's something in Fish that they have that like nerdy music school thing infused in it. And like they're kind of meta with like, let's make fun of ourselves. Whereas like these guys, these are rock stars. These guys are like, they're very serious in their profession. They're taking rock and roll seriously. Like this is not a joke. Their jam isn't because they're like, let's just be crazy and experimental. Their jam was like, it was like, let's jam because like we're feeling it and like this is the moment, this is the era. It's not like they're doing it for the sake of like, let's go on like a composition exercise. Because when you're a music nerd, you do things just for the sake of doing them. It's like, oh, I wonder if I could write a passacaglia that then modulates. And like you do all these weird things because you're like, oh, that would be interesting. Or like, I mean, in one of my songs, I put tap dancing in because I was like, it would be a cool beat. Like, let's put in tap dancing. I harmonized with a dial tone in my song Mannequin. It's like, I just was like, oh, what if I harmonize with like that to me is just like very interesting and like unique. And I don't know, that's kind of why I think I like weird experimental things a little bit. So to me, maybe at the time, and I don't know, this is 1989, they were banned from the 60s. People told me 1970, 77 were bad years, so I need to listen to stuff before that and after. I'm not sure exactly. I'm just finally listening to the Grateful Dead for the first time. The main thing I learned from this video was the genesis of jam bands altogether. Because when I studied a music school, we take music history, and you have to learn about Baroque music in order to learn about classical music, and then you have to understand how classical became romantic and how romantic became 20th century music eventually, and like atonal, and like how that all happened. But if you don't study where it came from, you can't really see where it's going. And I say the same thing to my students because I now teach Gen Z, and they're like, some of my students, they're really talented at music. They're doing like DJ mixing, they're doing all the stuff, and they're so talented. And they're like, why do I need to know this stuff? Like, I'm like, oh, you have to know classical. Trust me, it's so good. They're like, why do I need to know this? I don't even care about that genre. I only want to do EDM, or I only want to do hip hop, and I'm like, trust me, you're going to want to know. Because like once you have the music knowledge and you understand what has been done before and where these things come from, and then you can put them you can kind of know what's going on. It's because one of my students was saying, oh, I really don't like the symphony. I find classical music so boring. I'm like, well, that's because you don't know what you're listening for. Like, if you just go to a symphony and you're just like, what am I listening for? You might be bored. If you come in prepared and you understand, like, let's say it's a sonata, you know, sonata form, then you can be like, in sonata form, for example, there's always a modulation. And then it repeats the theme in a different key. That's part of sonata form. So if you were there in the time when sonatas were like the thing, right? You would be like listening and you're like, oh, there's the theme. And then you're like, wow, this modulation is crazy right now. And then when the theme would come back, you'd be like, oh my God, they just brought the theme. The easiest example of that is that in this famous one by Mozart, you know, that's like, right? There's a point in that song where it goes through this whole modulation, and then you end up playing that same thing in F major. It's crazy. So, like, that is an example of the sonata form. In Moonlight Sonata, he does it too, because you start in the C sharp minor. You start here. And later, you come back to that same theme, but it's like in a different key area. But it's the same theme, okay? Just transposed. So again, my point is, once you understand that, you know what you're listening for. And then when you're listening to classical music, you're like, oh, there's the oboe, there's the French horn, there's the this, oh, and you're like, and you can hear all the different parts. You're like, oh, that's so interesting, right? But if you don't know what you're going in for, you're just like, this just sounds like old people music, right? So with that, my whole point of that is, I think to have listened to Fish first without having listened to this, I get why I was like, this is crazy, right? Like, I was like, what is a jam? Like, why are they going off on this thing for so long and I don't understand what's going on? But then once you hear it a few times and then you kind of know the structure, like, for example, You Enjoy Myself, it's one of my favorite Fish songs now. But what's cool about it is that there's always a different jam. It's generally always played pretty long, but the section could be slightly different. And the example is that then once you know what it's supposed to be, then when they go off of what it's supposed to be, then that's what's interesting about it, right? But if you don't know, it's your first time hearing it, you're just kind of like, what's going on? So yes, I think with this live performance, had I known what these songs sounded like studio, then I think I'd have a more idea of how much did they veer off from the studio release. But that even being said, had I just listened to this as an album, the studio version of these songs, I don't know if I think there were 3. I don't know if I would like it. I might be like, that's just kind of a boring, like, boomer rock song, you know? I don't know why, but I always just think of like, rolling on the river. And that's the example of like that whole thing they were saying at the end of this song, the dust thing. I was like, I don't know. It's just like they keep going, you know? When rock songs just kind of just repeat the same refrain for like 10 minutes. I don't know. It's just, for me, I'm kind of like, okay, like, what's next? You know, unless it's something interesting going on. So at least in this one, in the very beginning, we got that really cool jam, and I was like, ooh, experimental. I like it because they're all showing off their chops, which I do appreciate. I do appreciate talented musicians. And I don't really know what's going on. I heard there's this thing called Dead & Co. And I'm guessing, because I saw they're performing at the Sphere, because this, again, I just see this social media. And also the people I went to the Fish concert with, who I know through friends, and we were all in the Uber back, they're like, oh yeah, the Sphere, blah, 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 Dead & Co. I'm like, what's Dead & Co? Isn't the Grateful Dead dead? You know, I was kind of confused. And then I'm like, oh, it's probably like a recreation band of the Grateful Dead, maybe with some original members who are still alive, or some of the replacement members who, I don't know. So I'm like, that's my guess. If you guys want to comment on that, and then if so, is there something remarkable about it, or is it just more of like a nostalgia band at this point, where it's like, oh cool, we can hear all of our favorite things from the 60s, 70s, 80s live today? So is that what it is? But yes, my reaction is, this is a cool set. I think at the time it was probably like, wow, this is so monumental. I think now we have all these new jam bands, and I'm now getting suggested to listen to these more newer jam bands like Goose, and then someone recommended this weird Lizard the Gizzard thing or whatever, and then I just listened to the Bluegrass Jam, which I just think it's literally bluegrass. To me, I was like, this is just bluegrass, but it's like good bluegrass. But I'm saying, I grew up with fiddle jamborees. They were like, have you never heard? They were like, it's not country. I'm like, technically, bluegrass is under the banner of country. but it's not like Garth Brooks, okay? I wasn't calling it that. It's like technically, because again, I grew up with fiddle jamboree people. That's literally bluegrass, okay? So the point is, now we have all these like subgenres of jam bands, which I am now just learning about, because again, this has not been my wheelhouse. I liked Britney Spears, Madonna, Lady Gaga when she came out, love her. And but I like all music, you know, like the truth is I like country, even the no, like really country, you know, a lot of the country stuff I like. Even so I try not to be like one of the people like, oh, I like everything but country, you know, it's like, or I like everything but jam bands. It's like, no, I'm open to listening to anything. So I'm happy on this channel to listen to anything like that you like, anything that I might like or react to. Just comment it, send it to me in a message. I really am trying to be super responsive. I'm putting a lot of effort into my social media. I'm trying to respond to every single comment I get on YouTube. I'm trying to post multiple things a day. I'm really, really motivated to get my channel growing and to monetize. So I'm doing this as a job, basically. Like I have a job and then I'm doing this so I have a second full-time job. Okay, so that's how dedicated I am. But I've been having a lot of fun just creating things for you guys, and I'm happy to make, I don't know if you guys want more comedy content, more covers, because I can sing and play piano. You know, some people just discovered my other YouTube channel and they're like, oh my God, you're actually talented. Like, oh my God, you're a trained opera singer. I had no idea. So it's like, it's all kind of coming together now, whereas before it's like, who's this random girl that's TikToking? And then it's like, oh, I'm randomly playing games. Like a lot of people stream games, like, but then I have a unique perspective, I feel like. And I think music and games go together quite well. And just in general, like nostalgia. My channel's about nostalgia. Retro games are about nostalgia. Listening to the Grateful Dead is about nostalgia. We all want to remember happier times. And I think a lot of those memories is what gets us through our day-to-day sometimes when it's difficult. So I think these are all beautiful things, and art is wonderful, and we should all partake in it. We should listen to it. We should encourage it. We should be kind. We should not harass and bully people online, like just general human decency, right? So anyway, this is the second recording of the Dead I've heard. I'm sure I must know their like most famous thing, whatever, maybe if it's been in movies and stuff like that. But make suggestions. I'm all for it. And thanks to the sponsor of this video for sending $20, because it just really motivates me to do it next. It's like, oh, what should I review? And then I have this whole list of like a million things people have sent me. But when I get the money attached to it, I go, oh, I better do this like yesterday. And that's what happened. He sent it today, this afternoon. I'm like, that's it. I'm knocking this video out tonight. I don't even want to think about it. And that way we all get good content. So thanks for the recommendation. I definitely need it when it comes to these like boomer bands, okay? And I don't mean that offensively, but again, like I said, my parents were born in 1956 and 1957. They are boomers. That's just the fact. They are baby boomers. And there's music from that generation that's boomer music. And so it's not a bad thing. It's just that's the generation it was. But yes, to see how this translated into Fish, and then I'm excited to see how other bands maybe got inspired by the Dead, and then maybe how it all comes together. But definitely it sounds like there was the whole movement of people just traveling around with the band and camping and doing, you know, the experimental hippie stuff that I only heard stories about, right? My parents were actually too young to be hippies. So we just liked the musical Hair a lot growing up. I knew some other people who had older parents, like older than my parents, who then kind of did the whole hippie thing. And so I was always like so amazed that that was even real, because I only saw it in the musical Hair. So I was like, oh wow. And then it's like, no, I moved out to San Francisco and I did a summer of free love. And I'm like, wow, that's so cool. You know, like it just hard to imagine that that could happen today. You know, they're like peace and love, whatever. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, please share, please subscribe. If you want to comment, I appreciate it. And send me requests. Educate me. I'm happy to be educated. If I said something that's completely wrong, just correct me. I don't care. You know, I'm here to learn. We're all here to learn. I'm one of those people that I can admit when I'm wrong, and I'm happy to. So, all right. Well, have a great day, night, whatever. See you next time on Erica Reacts.